any extra income you have, invest that into assets, not lifestyle creep. And I think that's where people get stuck.
But I give my fiance a hard time whenever she says I can't afford this or we can't afford this. And I said this is the mindset shift.
You don't luck your way to $1 million, right? No one's gonna come save you and it's just gonna land in your lap one day. The number of inflation that they say, that 2 to 3% is BS. It's actually getting chewed away much faster than that.
So they've only invested $60,000. They leave it alone until 65, meaning for the next 30 years, from 35 to 65, they don't touch it. They're gonna have $787,000.
Proximity to power is one of the biggest cheat codes you could ever encounter in your entire life. Welcome back to the Wealth Juice Podcast. As always, it's your boys, Ryan and Cory, here with another episode for you. Today, we're going to talk about becoming the first millionaire in your family and the steps that you need to take to make this happen. So overall, this will be a breakdown of how you can break through to your first million. We've had a lot of questions over the last couple of months and honestly even years on tactics. And we wanted to break it down in an episode so we could give you the how-to and things that we've implemented over our time. Now, I'll say a quick caveat. We did not become the first millionaires in our family. We were surrounded by other millionaires and other entrepreneurs, which kind of gave us a leg up. And they taught us some of the skill sets that we're going to showcase here with you guys. Just proof of concept. But we have been able to reach that mark in our early 30s. And we're excited to show you some of the things that we've done throughout the years that have helped us, A, get a leg up, and then B, to kind of scale to the next level. And so we're going to break it down for you. So I want to start at the top here and kind of talk about why this matters. I think there's a mindset piece to this too, right? It's a lot of people are focused on becoming a millionaire, but you need to think about the why. Why do you even care about hitting that $1 million mark? Is it to prove to the world that you could do it? Is it to prove that you are a competitor in this game of wealth, money, and the chase to financial independence? Or is it for family? Is it for just doing what you want when you want? And I think there's an arbitrary number, why $1 million, right? And I think I want people to start thinking about that. But for us, I think it came down to, it's just a milestone number, right? You see people make 6 figures at a job. You rarely see people making $1 million a year, and unless they're at the top of their game. But even if you make that, you don't necessarily have $1 million net worth, because it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. So there's a lot of things in here. And I think for most people, they want to prove it's possible in their family line, right? Hey, no one else has become a millionaire around me. I want to be the first person to do this. And then for us, it was we had other people that we were surrounded with that did it. So we saw what was possible. And then why is it not possible for me too? They were dealt a similar set of cards or even less cards than us. So why can't we figure this game out as well? And then we wanted to set a new normal for our kids and relatives, right? You're surrounded by, I think, you'll probably see some families in the US here, right? You might be middle class, and then you have, a couple millionaires around you, and you're like, well, I can see this person lives a different life than the other people around them. I want to be able to do that too. And I want to be able to pay for the vacations. I want to be able to support my family if they ever need anything, or if health things pop up, be able to foot the bill and just be the provider. And this is some of the things that we think about. So I think it's more so about you're unlocking options that most people only dream about, and they can never really figure out the way to get there. And a lot of it is becoming trapped in your environment and trapped in your own head. And quite honestly, understanding that it's a long game versus the short game. You're not going to get rich overnight. And I think if you realize that earlier than later, you will be in a position to actually hit that number. And I just want people to remember, as we go through this episode in the tact, it is not reaching that number. Because when you reach that number, I promise you, not many things change. Unless you have it liquid sitting in your bank account, you actually have to do something with that, right? A lot of us have equity in the ground within real estate, and then you have it in your stock portfolio. But if it's just sitting there and you're staring at the number, it might be some financial stability and you feel good about that. But what are you going to do with the money? How are you going to impact the world? How are you going to impact those around you? So also with that, in pairing, I just want to say it's not reaching that $1 million mark, right? Because when you get there, all those things occur. But it's who do you become on the path to that million? And what did you have to go through? The trials, tribulations, ups and downs. And that's something, we honestly struggled with for a long time. And we're still going through it in our journey, right? To scale to whatever number you want and whatever level of freedom. There are so many things that come with that on a daily basis that you need to shield yourself from. You have to say no to a lot of things. And you have to stay disciplined, consistent, and once again, just have that long-term vision, similar to investing in real estate. That 30-year mark is kind of what people kind of put in their heads. It doesn't take everyone 30 years to get there, but there are tactics to almost guarantee you get there in 30 years, but most people say, hey, that's too long for me, right? So if you can be one of those people that says, hey, I want to guarantee that I will be there and I'll take these small steps along the way, it's building these habits and tactful things that we'll go through along the way. So I just want to set the stage there. And Cory, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but that's where my brain went as we started this episode.
I think we all know that the value of the dollar has gone down over the past 5 or 6 years significantly, but just, over the past 100 years, obviously it's gone down a lot. So when we say becoming a millionaire, like, I just want people to be, we are proud to get to this point, right? And I jokingly say I'm at this stage where it's like, if the stock market drops 2%, like, I won't be a millionaire anymore. Like, I just made it to this stage. But so, I want to talk about the importance of the mindset of why we wanted to pursue this. And then second of all, like, being a millionaire doesn't mean that we have $1 million in cash, obviously. And, Rye and I would have to sell assets to use a lot of that. And that's whether that's our real estate or that's our stocks. And we have very, very little in comparison to the million in cash. And I think that that's some of it's by design, but also I just want people to understand that the first few years of doing this, like if you started working at 18, which I did, it took me eight years until I was 26 to get to $100,000 net worth. And then from 26 to 33, 34, that's 6 to 7 years to get from 100 to around $1 million. So what does that mean? It means that the compounding of once you get to 100, 300, 600, that's when things start to go faster. And the whole idea of the rich getting richer, it's simply this: if it costs you, let's just say you live like a pretty lavish lifestyle, and I would say if you spend $20,000 a month, which obviously neither of us do, $20,000 or $30,000 a month, you're living a pretty lavish lifestyle. So you're thinking like, okay, how much money do I need? How much is that? It's that is $300,000 a year, let's just say. If your net worth is $5 million, your interest that you're making on that money at a very conservative level each year is more than you even spend in a year. So the rich are getting richer and richer. And how much can you even spend? So what I'm saying is, the point of bringing all this up is, if you can keep your expenses low for a period of time, make more and more money, when you get to that high 6-figure net worth, $1 million net worth, then things start to compound. And I think Rye and I are about to see the real magic of putting our money to work for us at the $1 million mark. And I'm very curious to see how quickly we get to 2. And that's just being like open and transparent. We've always been like that in this podcast. I'm not saying any of this to brag. I'm saying that if you've been following along in our journey, we started out having, we didn't get any handouts or anything. So we had $50K, $20K, $10K net worth. And now we're at the stage. So I'm very curious to see where it goes. So let's talk about the math behind it. And I'll let Rye jump into this of how anyone can do this and anyone can get there.
Yeah, I'm just going to shout it out from the rooftops here. You don't luck your way to $1 million, right? Like, no one's going to come save you and it's just going to land in your lap one day. And I think that sometimes when you're younger, you're like, I'll just figure it out. But you really need to put in the work and systems. So I think for us is like, for us to get to $1 million, we needed to engineer it with our habits, systems, and time, and just kind of factor all of these in together. So the math behind the $1 million, right? Like, you kind of really have to reverse engineer the number so it feels real and attainable to you, right? It's like, what do you want that $1 million to be comprised of? Like, for example, you could have cash flowing assets like real estate or business equity, paper assets, which are stocks, ETFs, cryptocurrency, cash, which is your liquid savings, right? Like whatever you just have set in cash. And then a lot of people, what they don't factor in, well, it depends on which side of the argument you fall, but like your home equity, right? Your primary residence, if you buy it at a certain price and then it goes up over time and appreciates, that built-in equity you have, as long as you use it for something, can be counted towards your net worth. And so there's two sides to the token.
By the way, I don't get why anyone says that it shouldn't be counted. That's my opinion. I don't get that, or people saying your home equity shouldn't, because we've used home equity lines of credit to go buy real estate or go buy other investments. So that's just weird to me, but to each their own, I guess.
To each their own. Yeah. I think if you realize the dollars and use them and turn it into a machine, that could be one side of the argument. We like to include it. I mean, you bought the asset, right? You're holding it. And so, to each their own, but that's just another example. So just to give a breakdown, for someone, let's just give we'll give a random breakdown or like a flywheel of kind of the pie chart for a balance, potentially like a balanced path to $1 million. You could have 500,000 in real estate equity plus the cash flow that comes in from the real estate, 300K in index funds and crypto, a blend of that, and then 200K in business ownership or cash, right? And that's just an example. And like for you guys to put out like, hey, how would you like to divvy up your pie? And I say this to say like some people want a big chunk of their money in the ground in real estate, right? They want to build that appreciation over time and build in that equity and have the cash flow paying down the bills. Then other people are like, hey, listen, that's just a little too much extra work for me. I'm strictly dumping it into the market and letting it sit for years, right? And I'm going to just pick the best index fund stocks and the cryptocurrencies that I want to reach over time. And then other people are like, hey, I'm very hands-on. I want to invest in businesses, right? And I want to have, business income coming in, but then also outside of that, some people are conservative and there's a number that you want too. Some people have 200K in cash. Some people have 100K in cash, and like that just depends on where your risk tolerance falls and like how conservative you are and how not. Like, do you need to see that 100K sitting in your high yield savings? Maybe, do you need 6 months? And actually I say that 100K, it just depends on your expenses, right? Like how many months do you want to kind of figure that you have if the world catches on fire or whatever and things start shutting down and you lose your job? How long do you want to be comfortable for? And I think that's how you want to figure out how much you need in your savings account and breaking it down that way. Like the typical, financial independence, people that talk about this all the time, they're like, hey, 3 to 6 months or even a year. And when I hear people say I need a year of this sitting in my checking account or my savings account, I'm like, oh man, like for me, it just rings between my ears because as investors, we know that, your dollar is losing its purchasing power by the day very fast. And the number of inflation that they say that 2 to 3% is BS. It's actually getting chewed away much faster than that. So for us, I just feel like it's a losing game to sit in there. I rather have a little bit dabbled into real estate, a little bit into the market and just have it working for me or even into crypto. We're getting bigger into Bitcoin these days too, as a nice hedge. So just things like that. But that's just a pie chart for you guys to visualize. Hey, map it out. Where do you want your dollars? And just make sure they're working for you at the same time. I wouldn't be heavy loaded with just all of it sitting in cash, right? Have things be in the market, be in real estate, be in businesses, things that are going to churn you extra dollars and having your money go work for you.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about, I mentioned the compound interest and how this works, but I'll give you an example. And there may be people listening to this podcast episode that are at 18. There may be people listening that are 25, 35, 45, 55. It's never too late, but I want to give you an idea of, let's just say there's two people who each invest $500 a month and you get an 8% annual return on that money. If the one investor it starts at 25 years old and they only invest till they're 35. So they start at 25, they invest 10 years, $500 a month. So they've only invested $60,000. If they leave it alone until 65, meaning for the next 30 years, from 35 to 65, they don't touch it. They're going to have $787,000 at an 8% annual return. If investor B waits until they're 35 years old and invests the same $500 a month for 30 years, meaning they invest that $500 a month continuously for 30 years, they're going to have $180,000 total invested, and they're only going to have $679,000. So starting earlier and the compounding of how much your dollar grows over time is the key there. So earlier you can start, the better. If you start later, the key is to invest more. You have to put more dollars into the system.
Yep. I think that was nice. And I think for people who have never heard this, this phrase before, but like compound interest, you should hear this a lot. And if you're studying studying financial independence or just studying personal finance in general, compound interest is when your money earns returns and those returns earn returns. So it creates exponential growth over time. And it's a funny way to think about it, but you can think about it's kind of like your money having babies and then those babies having babies and they just keep multiplying over time, right? And it's time in the market, not timing the market. And that's why Cory and I are so big on dollar cost averaging. You'll see DCA pop up a lot. And like, as you kind of like get into this game, it stands for dollar cost averaging. And it's basically saying, hey, like out of my paycheck or at a certain time during the week or the day, every day or month, I'm going to have money auto invested into the market because that way you don't have to time the best days of the market. There's like 10 to 20 amazing days throughout the whole year. And so you want to get, and when I say by amazing is when the market dips. So you buy low and then it eventually rises. So my point here is when you dollar cost average, you are basically just hedging your bet and making sure that you don't miss out on some of these days. Now, the hard part is for certain ETFs and certain, depending on the company, they only let you DCA weekly. And what I like about certain vehicles, if you will, they let you do daily dollar cost average, which is amazing. And specifically, I do this now for cryptocurrency and specifically Bitcoin, right? We're not going to get too far into all this, but like putting a small amount of this daily and just forgetting about it, it's like, how much would I pay for a lunch, right? Cool. Maybe I'll not go out to eat that day, right? And I'll just have that auto invested, however you guys want to separate it. But my point is, when you shut it off and you forget this, Cory and I did this for years. We did the weekly DCA into our brokerage accounts and then also to our 401ks and then our Roth IRAs. All of a sudden, 5-10 years fly by and you have this big chunk of change in there. And you're like, wow, it automatically got pulled from my paycheck. I didn't let it impact my lifestyle. We basically figure, okay, and we'll get into this a little bit later on, like the tax, but like having, between 10 to 25% of your paycheck coming in, it's just automatically getting invested. And then we can focus on increasing our income and chasing better skills that will raise that income. But the dollars are still automatically going to the right places. And then once those were stacked up enough, we were like, whoa, we're kind of good with all that. Now we got to get to the next stage. And that was, hey, starting a business, investing in real estate and taking bigger swings, if you will. So I just wanted to make sure that people understand the power of compound interest and putting your dollars to work. It's really important to automate your investments and then also automate your savings too, right? Like anything that comes into your paycheck, don't just let it sit in your checking account because without even thinking about it, you're going to subconsciously spend that money if it looks like it's available. And so if you set it aside into accounts that you're really not touching, that's what allows you over time to wake up and say, oh, I have enough for my down payment now. Oh, I have enough to go to pay for this vacation, or I have enough to go invest in this, right? And just, it allows more opportunity because you're almost tricking yourself that you don't have the money when in reality, your money's going to work for you.
You will adjust to the life that you put in front of yourself. And let me explain what I'm saying. It doesn't make 100% sense, but basically a lot of people think like, hey, I'm going to go get paid. And then you think like, what do I buy with what I get paid? Okay. So what you want your mantra and your mindset to be is to spend what's left after you invest, not invest what's left after you spend. And I think even something as simple, this will get a lot of people started. Like if you say, hey, I'm going to put $500 a month, $300 a month, whatever it is, it's in the beginning, the first of the month, and I'm going to auto invest that. You will naturally change your lifestyle to not need that. Now, you don't think about it that way before you do it because you're like, I need that money. But if it automatically comes out, it kind of feels like this is just another bill. But what it is, instead of a bill, it's a bill that builds you wealth. It's the opposite of a bill. It's not going out. It's actually going into a separate account that you're not looking at that's on auto invest that will build you wealth over time. Now, this is very basic stuff, but I think this is where a lot of people get stuck in the cycle of spending all the money that comes into their bank account. Then how about this? Take it out of your bank account so that you don't spend it. That's the shift that I think most people need to make because you're looking at like what's affordable. And when in reality, you need to think about, okay, let me do this before I even have a chance to take a look at it. So that's huge. And it starts with your daily habits, really.
Yeah. So I think it's changing your mindset to view this as, hey, I need to focus on the long-term compounding over instant gratification. I think it's so easy to stack up the dollars. And once you have those in your account, you say, hey, I have this money now. I'm going to go buy the thing that I want. Cory and I have done this. We had 30, 40 grand saved up, right? Cool. We bought the cars. He bought the Benz. I bought the Challenger. I think I eventually got another Benz too. So it's like, but we're like, dude, our money's gone and we could have had that invested. And once we ran the compound interest chart, I think go on bankrate.com and you can see how your money compounds over time. And depending on different rates that are different interest that's accrued to it. Right. So my point is when we saw that, we're like, whoa, we are doing the wrong thing. And so we eventually sold those, got, cheaper cars, had them paid off. We're living below our means and you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. And it's so hard. It's not even keeping up with the Joneses. It's almost like, hey, now I can go buy this thing because I have this money. So, we like to say, you make 50K, you live off 50K. You make 100K, you live off 50K. You make 200K, you live off 50K, right? And maybe the number's a little shifted there. But my point is, don't adjust your lifestyle just yet. Have these dollars start working for you. And that's a hard thing for people to do. So I want to get into
hold on. You don't have to do, and the thing is, you don't have to do this forever. Like, that's what I think people get. Sometimes people get backlash. It's like, yeah, live your life, or what if you die? And here's the thing, and nowhere have I ever said that you shouldn't live your life or like have amazing experiences. In fact, that's the things that we spend our money on. But what I'm saying is I'm okay with not buying dumb shit for a while. Like I'm okay with not having a sick car right now. Like I'm okay with it, you know? And that right there, if you think about it, like a nice car today, like just break this down. Like I have a paid off car. I probably got another year or two left before I buy something that I really like, right? But I've had this paid off car. I've driven the same car for 6 years. So let's break down what it would cost you to get a new car today. Like if you're getting a decent car, $500-$600 a month easily, right? Okay, then you add in the insurance on that car. Okay, it's a nicer car, it needs to be insured a little bit higher. Let's say the delta difference. I drive a hybrid, so I don't spend that much in gas. So you might have $800 a month difference in driving a paid off car and driving like a nicer car. Okay, $800 a month. If you times that by that's $10,000 a year. I'm not saying you need to invest all 10,000 of that. What if you invested 6,000 of it or 7,000 of it and you took 3,000, you went on a cool trip? So what I'm saying is spend the money on things that bring you memories and bring you experiences and do that throughout. Do it as much as you can. But if you can eliminate the dumb shit for a while, I think that's key.
Yeah, you don't have to, there's tax to do this too, right? And not tacts, like ways to implement. And what I'm saying is like for Cory and I, we still love traveling stuff. We never stopped going on vacation. We opened up credit cards, right? That had amazing bonuses. And not only they give you a bonus up front, but then, accrues over time, all these points, and they pay for our flights. So think about, for an example, like it's just a hack is like, instead of paying for everything out of your checking account, you have one of these travel cards. It's called travel hacking. So look that up if you've never studied it. And basically you have a credit card that you put everything on, all your expenses on, right? And then those ding at the end of the month, you immediately pay that card off when the check comes in. And then you have all these points that accrue over time. And when they stack up to a certain point, you're like, oh, I have $3,000 in here. I can go to an all-inclusive to the Dominican, or I can go to Mexico, or whatever it is. That's at a very basic level. Then you tier up and you're like, oh, okay, I've graduated from the all-inclusives. Now I can go to Italy, or now I can go to Greece. And now I can do these things, right? And so there's ways to stack in the game. And you get, as you do it one time, you start at the base level. These things, once again, they compound and you get better at doing this. You're like, oh, I understand how this game works. So just a little hack for you there. Now I want to go into I want to get to some of the juicier stuff towards the middle and the end of the episode, but I'll give you kind of like a quick roadmap to the million, and just give you kind of like a quick step-by-step system that you can do. But it all starts with mastering your money foundation, right? And like the first 6 months, right? You want to start tracking your net worth monthly. There's plenty of these. If you even Google and you just go online, there's a net worth tracker. You can download a spreadsheet, but you put in your assets and your liability. You need to track everything. If you know your numbers, you'll be in a good spot. You have to start there. Then eliminating toxic debt, high interest credit cards, pay down loans, anything over 7%. We say like, hey, rigorously pay that thing down, and because you can't out invest high interest debt. That's what I'll say. Build reserves, 6 months of expenses in a high yield savings account. I would start basically at the 6 months. As you get a little bit more dough and like more investments, maybe you scale that down. And then maybe if you're very conservative, you scale that up to a year, right? But 6 months is a pretty safe, happy medium. That's what we started with. And then automatic investments, automate everything. Even $100 to $500 a week into an index funds, ETFs, and Bitcoin, like a split of all those, it's just gonna start the compounding engine, and you're gonna get to a really good spot. And then once those start cooking, then you're like, okay, now what's next, right? And that's how you graduate into real estate. And that's what we did. The next is increasing your income. I think people, they stop there. They're like, okay, I'm just going to live uber frugally. But now you need to focus on, raising that income so that more money's dumped into the percentage that you have automatically investing. So what we did in the beginning is like leverage your skills, become top 10% in a field of something that you are proficient at, right? And so, for example, we say this all the time. It's like, hey, if you're not going to go out and get a new skill set, what can you do and find a position that will pay you for the time, energy, and effort you put in? We like sales roles or anything commission based or that has bonus structures. Instead of having, hey, that $75,000, $100,000 salary when you start out, maybe it's a little less for some people, but can you get a salary that also pays you a commission based on the revenue you generate for a company? And that has allowed Cory and I both to scale much quicker than we ever thought possible, because we learned a skill set, how to better communicate with people, how to maintain relationships, all these things. And then you're able to sell a product, right? And you're able to drive revenue for a company, making yourself more dollars. So you're paid for the time, energy, and effort you put in and how well you do, right? Now it also comes down to if you perform poorly, you're not going to reap the rewards. So there's a forced skill set like increase there. You have to become better, sharpen the axe, and get better over time. And then after that, it's like anything extra that you bring in, right? Whether it's commission based or maybe it's the side hustle that you put in together or the skill set that you go study. Maybe you get your real estate license. You start selling a couple houses on the side on the weekends outside of your job, right? Any extra income you have, invest that into assets, not lifestyle creep. And I think that's where people get stuck. They start getting more income. They start dumping it into these, other liabilities that we talked about. The next is to acquire cash flowing assets, right? That's the stage that really got Cory and I to the next thing. So, right, we started with the 0 to 6 months is mastering the money foundation. 6 months to 18 months is increasing your income. Figure a way to do that. And then when you get to years 1 through 5, this is where it starts getting really fun. You have some extra cash churning. Then you start investing into real estate or looking at real estate as an investment vehicle. Duplexes, small multis, short-term rentals. We aim for $200 to $500 a month in net profit per door, so like net cash flow. And then other people, you guys can invest in businesses. There's websites and things out there that allow you to invest in specific businesses, whether it's a car wash, maybe a plumbing business, things like that. Like there's a lot of boomers that are leaving these positions and leaving these businesses, and it's cash flowing and it's a solid business. You can invest in those now. And then digital assets, right? I think this is what a lot of people forget about. Like today, everything's built on the internet. So content, courses, anything that will generate you revenue while you sleep. We have a friend that has like a printable site where she sells t-shirts, mugs, etc. And it's a really good graphic designer. She'll sell things on there. We have other people that they create spreadsheets, they create PDFs for people. Any like business owner, think about if you're creating lead magnets for people. There's who's the pick and the axe and the shovel person in the ground that's building these things. You can become that person to make extra income. So think about that. Then the next step is scaling with leverage, right? That's after you start investing a little bit. Then it's like, how do I scale up to the next level and build this thing even higher? It's using financial leverages. So for example, mortgages, lines of credit, and all of these things. When I say financial leverage, think about if you have a primary residence, you lived in there 5-6 years. Maybe you bought it. Let's just hypothetically say you bought it for $300,000. Now it's worth $600,000. You will be given, or you can be given, a line of credit against your property, against this mortgage, to go invest in other things, right? A lot of people will take out it's called the home equity line of credit, and you have to find the right institution, credit union, or bank that will allow you to do this, right? And there's different rates depending on the time of the cycle and the market. But what I'm saying is, people just let this equity sit in the ground forever and they never tap into it. That's what we were talking about earlier in the episode. To make this asset really work for you as like the big monopoly chip on your board here, it's like, how do I pull money off this asset and go invest in another asset? Cory and I have used home equity lines of credit to go invest in new real estate deals to help scale our portfolio. So that's another example. I think there's also one outside of financial leverage. It's called people leverage. So how can you automate your time and streamline and become more efficient with your time and not waste time doing tasks that you don't need to do anymore? Virtual assistants, property managers, contractors. Prime example, Cory and I, too busy with the W-2s and building our businesses. We did not have the time to deal with tenants anymore and deal with the maintenance issues that would pop up and like piecing together, hey, when will you be home? Does this work for your schedule? Is this the right dollar amount? So we hired a property manager for our real estate portfolio, and we paid the 8 to 10% of the cash flow or of the rent that came in to those property managers. And we were never happier in our entire lives because we could focus on our business and the higher dollar performing tasks. And then virtual assistants for small things in our business. We're like, what are we doing these menial tasks for anymore? And like, it's things that are not the creative brain. It's really like, hey, this is more of like an administrative task, like something very black and white that's easy to do and repeat over time. We would offset that to a virtual assistant, and you can hire people out in the Philippines. You can hire people in the US, just depends on the dollar. Like we personally have used people in Egypt. We've used people in the Philippines, and it's been amazing for people that are just amazing at helping us run our business at not a huge cost for us.
I also think that you can leverage this even if you work a W-2 job. There's nobody that says that just you have to be a business owner to leverage out your time. And so maybe it costs you some money, but maybe there's some things that can allow you to focus on the high dollar figure things at your W-2 job. So you're not managing emails and maybe your business will offer this for you, but I'm just like the business that you work for. But I'm saying like, think about this a little bit more creatively. Like maybe you could hire a VA to help you do tasks that'll help you make more money if you are a commissioned person in your sales job. So it doesn't have to be specifically a business owner. And I feel like people need to help understand that. And this is the income acceleration aspect of what you're doing.
100%. You nailed that. And so the last thing I want to talk about is like protecting your assets and multiplying them over time, right? And so this is like the final quick stage, but like make sure you have a tax strategy. You want to work with the CPA to capture all the deductions, but then also plan out for the next year, right? Like once you start building these things and you have a business and you have multiple properties and things coming in, and you still have a W-2 income if you're balancing there, or you have a new business that has certain income, you need to play this game strategically and make sure you're taking advantage of all the deductions that you possibly can. And doing this on your own, if you don't know all the loopholes, it is not worth doing. So that's hiring out to people that can run the show for you. Asset protection, don't skip this step. LLCs, trusts, insurance, like truthfully, having an LLC to protect your assets and make sure that, if something happens, someone can't come after you. They come right after the LLC, which is essentially maybe you have one property in each LLC. Everybody does this differently, but just putting that out there. Trusts, okay, if something happens to you, and you have all these assets, it's going to be passed down to your heirs. You need to make sure that you have a living will and a trust, and all these things flow together. So what you want to happen actually happens. So it doesn't go to court and basically people argue over all the wealth that you built over time. And at the end of the day, insurance, this is massive. I mean, this is just obviously property insurance, but life insurance is massive. Like you're becoming a millionaire and you're becoming like someone that is building large amount of wealth. When you pass, everyone's going to at some point, you want things passed down to your heirs appropriately and how you want your life to shake out when you're gone, essentially. And it sounds kind of morbid, but for me, like one of the biggest burdens that was like lifted off my shoulders was when I got life insurance, because I know my girls are taken care of. Like I'm good, and so it gave me a little bit more freedom to have more risk tolerance and being able to like play the game a little bit more and say like, hey, I can take larger risk because no matter whatever happens, as long as I keep paying these insurance premiums, my family's taken care of. And I think people undervalue that. So I just want to talk on that. And then all this is like, it compounds over time, right? So when this machine starts going, right, you take the dollars that come in and make sure you're siphoning off a chunk of this to reinvest into the engine, reinvest the profits into yourself, into the businesses, into the assets, and delay lifestyle creep as long as you can. So this thing can self-sustain itself, because then you remove yourself from the matrix a bit and you just feel this sense of freedom and less stress and like the little, devil on your shoulder that's always like, hey, we need to pay this bill. We need to, can we do this? Can we afford this? It becomes a cycle. And I think it really drags most people down. So we're trying to give you guys like the quick fire steps that you can go research a little bit more on your own, but have a little roadmap to go attack this thing over the next 5 years. And I know 5 years sounds like a long time, but it flies. It really does.
Yeah. And I, just off something that you said there, like I kind of get angry is not the right word, but I like give my fiance a hard time whenever she says like, I can't afford this or we can't afford this. And I said like, this is the mindset shift that I think people need to make. It's like, I never say I can't afford something. It's always like, how can I? And if it's something that's just unattainable, it's not something that I like think about. I just get it out of my brain. So it's like, instead of thinking about, we can't afford this, it's like, what would I need to do? What position would I need to put myself in? What things would I need to do? What steps I need to take for it to be attainable or for us to be able to afford it? And I think honestly, that shift in your mind helps you think more creatively. And like, if you don't want to be like the norm, and the norm is making an average of $50,000 a year and having $250,000 in your 401k when you're ready to retire, then you have to step outside of that box and think, most people are thinking, I can't afford it. How do you afford it if you really, really want something? So I think that's massive there.
No, you nailed it. And I just want to give people like a breakdown with tactile numbers. I just don't know how far people are along on their journey. So this might be super beginner for some, but we're talking about, I just want to go back to the auto investments. Like, let's just say a check comes in and it's a $5,000 take home pay. Put 15% into the stock market and ETFs, right? Long-term growth, untouchable. You don't plan on touching it. And then 10% into a real estate savings fund for your next down payment. And then the remaining 75 can cover your lifestyle, your bills, and discretionary income. This is a super basic start to things, but for example, that $5,000 take home pay, $750 would get auto invested. You can look into things, some of the early tickers that we would invest in are VTI, VOO, QQQ, and then honestly, wish we did this earlier, but Bitcoin. And then 500 into a high yield savings labeled the real estate fund, right? So it was like, hey, automatically I got $500 saving for the down payment of my first investment property. And then the remaining $3,750 is for expenses, right? And then if that's $5,000, if you can cover your expenses with that, and maybe you move into a commission-based job and you start making 10 grand a month, that's an additional after tax. Let's just say it's after taxes. You have another $5,000 you can invest and you can put it anywhere you want. So what you're doing here is you're building two wealth engines at once. One's passive, it's market compounding, right? And then the other one's active. That's the real estate cash flow you'll eventually have. And so the automation here removes emotion. And that's what we want to get to, is like, it becomes very emotional. If you have to decide what you're going to do every month with the dollars, you're more likely going to spend it on something than invest it. I'm telling you, unless you just get warped into the brain of like investor mindset, which that's where we're in. And we're like really focused on, if we see money in our account, we're like, dude, we need to do something with this, and that's just the next level. So, Cory went into kind of some of the mindset shifts. And I think those are, we're always taught, like, from the beginning, can I afford this? I need to save what's left over. I can't spend this. I can't invest this. I need to know everything to get into the game. And then, I want to play it safe, right? No one who's ever built massive amounts of wealth has ever played it 100% safe. It is what it is. And they've taken massive amounts of risk and they've figured it out. And so, I think there's a weekly wealth rhythm that you can kind of go through here, especially earlier in your journey, is like, spend an hour deal hunting, looking up real estate deals, investments, business opportunities, do an hour learning, books, courses, mentors, right? Like, who are you learning from? When I say mentors, it's like, you're learning from YouTube, you're learning from podcasts that you listen to on your daily commute, you're reading books about this stuff, and then do an hour networking. I think a lot of people are afraid to do this and they just become very lazy, but hop on calls with people that are doing this at a high level. And whether you want to become a real estate investor, cool. Find real estate investors locally and start booking calls with them and just understanding how they run their days and they're in the game. Take them out to lunch. I would say the biggest thing, don't ask for the quick pick your brain coffee, like, try to provide them value. We've done a couple episodes on that, so I'm not going to go into that here, but I think anyone that's super busy, if you ask them to go to a coffee just to pick their brain, you're probably going to get, unless it's like a family friend, you're probably going to get pushed to the side. So you got to figure out ways to really weave in there, and like, why would they want to sit down with you and why would they want to help? So those are the most basic things that I wanted to cover for the first like 40-ish minutes here. And now we're going to go into like the millionaire accelerators. And I think this is exciting because these are the things that allow you to really amplify. And like, maybe it's getting you to that like 500 to 2 million, right? And it's one of those things where the basic levels are covered. And this is how we jumped to the next tier. And I think it's like one of those things are, it's basic, right? And I kind of touched on this on network, but what we found is like, proximity to power is one of the biggest cheat codes you could ever encounter in your entire life. Is like, okay, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. We hear that phrase a lot, but like, what does that actually mean? And it's just the people that are in your circle. If they're not talking about building businesses, acquiring income producing assets, and like doing the things that high level people with a lot of dollars are doing, it's just not allowing you to get to that level. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having friends and family that you guys like to go do things and hang out and enjoy life's experiences and chase that excitement and go on vacations and all that stuff. But there is a time and a place for everything. And I think a lot of people forget, or they just are too afraid or bashful and they don't know how to do this, or lazy. And they're like, well, I'll figure it out on my own. You don't have to figure it out on your own. You need to learn from the best and for the people that are doing it. So for proximity to power, that what it means to us is mastermind groups, mentorship, and networking. Basically your financial thermostat is set by the people you're around. And I kind of talked about this, but if you're surrounded by millionaires, you're going to become a millionaire. You will. The habits that they do on a daily basis, who they surround themselves with, what they're studying, the tools that they're using, the systems that they implement. And this doesn't have to be just in business. This is in life. It's going to help you. And it's helped us. And that's what really helped us scale. And we did this at the most basic level. And we've talked about this on some podcasts, but like during COVID, the world shut down and we decided to start a podcast with 2 real estate units. And one was a primary residence. So, and the funny part is like, we just said, hey, we don't know who's going to resonate with this, but it's not like the massive shows that talk about people that have 1,000 units. It's just 2 average Joes trying to figure it out and like go through the journey. But what happened was we started getting interest in the show, and people that we were reading books about, we took a shot on Coach Carson. He's awesome, by the way, Chad, Coach Carson. He wrote the book Retire Early with Real Estate, and we asked him to come on the show just so we could network with him, right? And then we shared his story, and he said, you guys are pretty good at this podcast thing. So Cory and I decided to do a blend of like, hey, let's do some tactical episodes and updates on our journey. Then also let's get people on the show so we can network with them. That was our way to get in rooms with millionaires and to get the cheat code to say, hey, we're going to learn from every single thing that you guys are doing on a daily basis. You're going to basically give us the game, but then we have to go implement and take action and weave this into our lives. And that's what we did. And that allowed us to get to the next level. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to start a podcast, but like, how can you find things, whether it's a local real estate meetup group, a local networking event, or you can do these things on Zoom, joining a mastermind group, joining a mentorship program, joining a collective group of people that are chasing the same thing, but also woven in there are people that are doing it or already have done it at a super high level. They're going to reach down their hand and pull you up to their level. And just subconsciously, you're going to start weaving in some of the things that they're doing. And I'm telling you, just like compound interest, this is a compound of networking. And over time, you'll naturally grow into that millionaire faster than you think.
Absolutely. I think the next one here is, and we're going to touch on this, is in terms of building a personal brand. I don't think this is for everyone. I want to be very clear about this. What I think this does is some people get caught up in building a personal brand as opposed to building their business or building their thing, right? Don't build a brand just to build a brand. But what you can do in a lot of circumstances is document your journey and build in public. And I've been told that by a number of people. So it's like, okay, what building your brand looks like what? Okay, it looks like, hey, guys, I'm on this journey. I'm trying to become a millionaire in the next 3 years. This is what I'm doing, right? And you're going to resonate with people that are also doing that thing. A lot of friends, colleagues, people that you follow, like, and listen are may not be in proximity to you, like your neighbors or people that you see every day. They might be on the internet. You might find your tribe through the internet. And Ryan and I did that. Like, there are so many people out there that we've taken the internet relationships and brought them in person, and we've met them literally through social media. So I think building a personal brand and talking about your journey and posting consistently about what you're doing with the intention to share what you know, not to teach, but to say, hey, this is what I've done. This is what's worked for me. Maybe this will work for you. And I can't tell you the amount of things that Ryan and I have learned exponentially through the people that we've met online versus the people that we know in real life. And then those people that are online turn into real life friends, connections, and relationships. So you want to highlight your skills, highlight your wins, talk about the things that you're doing, and then it attracts new partnerships, it attracts capital, it attracts mentorship opportunities, but you have to lead with your authentic self, being you, true to you, not trying to be somebody else. And if you do that, I think it's right for you to try to build a personal brand around what you're doing. But don't do it to supersede the actual work that it's taking you to like build your income and stuff. So that's my take there.
Yeah, this is so interesting. I have a lot of thoughts here. From building a personal brand, we can start with the virtual. You mentioned real life friends and then like virtual friends. The thing that people I think fail to realize is like the people that are online are real people doing this stuff on a daily basis. And it's so cool when you meet someone that has built a nice personal brand to realize they're a human being. They bleed the same blood you do. They just have put systems and time into what they're doing. And they've been able to reach a crazy level of freedom, And so there's a lot of different things. Building your personal brand can be something. I know 90% of you have Instagrams, right? Or Facebooks. And like, there's people that most of you are posting on these things, whether you're posting pictures of your family or you're keeping up with high school friends or whatever it is. All you have to do is slowly and subliminally like tweak this, and just every post doesn't have to be about your family. It doesn't have to be on the vacation you're on. And it's not just like a highlight reel. Talk about what you're doing. Hey, just bought a property, or hey, I'm studying this, or I'm doing this. You're going to have other people reach out to you, say, hey, I didn't realize you were into that. So am I. And then you start talking about it. And then you set up a call. You meet up in person and you start doing things. Maybe you find a partnership like this. So it's sharing your journey publicly, the wins, the losses, but you can use LinkedIn, Instagram. You could use a podcast. You can use Facebook. You could use a website. You can use whatever you want, but there's so much. You're getting free marketing today by using the internet and all these apps, right? So my point is, find something that resonates with you in the place you want to live virtually and start sharing. And it can be on your personal friend group too. And I think that's where a lot of it starts. Cory and I, we were friends first before all this, right? And then we realized, oh, that guy is a little different. Like, he thinks like I do. We've had conversations that I've not really had with any other friends. Like, we want similar things in life. And that was really cool for us to be able to form a partnership and have it in our backyard. Some of these don't happen. Some of these you'll meet someone across the world, or across the states, right? You could have someone in California, you live all the way in Massachusetts or whatever it is. But that's the power of the internet today. You can get connected with people so quickly. You might meet someone in a mastermind group. How many mastermind groups we've joined and it's all virtual and we just do Zoom calls, and then you meet at like a retreat and it's the coolest thing in the world. So there's little pods you can break out to, but what I found is the internet has allowed you to skip steps. We've been trying to meet up with certain people, and have like conversations on like how to tactfully move the business forward. And sometimes they want to meet in person, and you're like, dude, that's just going to cost us a lot of time. Like, and are we going to go grab drinks? We're going to have dinner. Are we going to do this and then get to the game? Or can we get right into tact? Hop on a Zoom call, hop on a Google Meet. Cory and I do this all the time. We provide value first, and then we get on and we say, hey, we're lacking this in our business. What do you guys got going on here? Maybe take a thing or two that they're using, maybe the connection for us, maybe they have an introduction. We try what they have. Either it works or it doesn't. You pivot, you move to the next thing. And so my point is, we've had a lot of opportunities and ways to bridge the gap within our businesses and our investment portfolio because we've met people that are doing things at a high clip solely from the podcast, solely from putting ourselves out there, not being afraid to look stupid and just say, hey, like, these are the questions that I have. You know, I'm so curious. Like, I think when you lead with curiosity and you make it about them and how they've done things, people love to talk about themselves, man. And if you can, save those nuggets and start implementing those and taking like very quick action and instead of letting it sit, that's going to allow you to get to the next level way faster than you think. So I think that was, we talked about these are like, I'm going once again into the Millionaire accelerators. We talked about proximity to power. We talked about building a personal brand. And then I think another one here that is super important that people don't do is like, when you get into investing, you need to learn the rules of business as well and learning the language of money. And if you can talk the talk, you'll be able to walk the walk. And I know it's like, well, I don't really want to study that. I already went to college. I already did that. It's like, when you get to this next level, you realize a lot of people, leaders are readers, and they will go self-study and self-educate. And that's where, I mean, you can see this behind me. I have tons of books. I've listened, I read books. I listen to Audible, right? Sometimes on my commute here, and then listen to podcasts. And like a podcast, I would constitute that as learning, right? Someone that has done something at a super high level, they're sharing their story and like text for you. It's not always entertainment. So within this, you learn the language of money, how to explain what ROI is, cash on cash, cap rates, PE, IRR, all these terms are like, hey, what do these even mean, right? These acronyms, those are real estate terms and investing terms. And so if you can spend a few minutes a day or even the 30-minute time block a day learning financial terms and in the target asset class that you are looking to be proficient in, or listen to 2 to 3 podcasts a week or one a day on your drive to work, these things, it just starts. It's funny how the brain works. It just starts becoming part of you. And you're like, I know that. I know how to talk about this. And so when you get into one of those networking calls, you get into this, you sound intelligent and you know how to talk about the thing that you want to excel in, right? And they're like, okay, this guy's on to something. He knows his stuff. It's not like the first time you're like an entry level employee trying to talk to the biggest seller or the CEO. And you could tell someone's so new, right? That they're like, oh man, they have a lot of catching up to do. If you already have the catching up, you're already there. You're kind of meeting them. They're like, okay, I like this. We can talk about certain things. I know you're going to go take action. So learn the language of money. If I can give you anything else, is like super tactful, not just reading the books, doing things like learn how to speak business, learn how to speak dollars and cents, and learn about investing and how to talk about it. If you're going to be investing even a little bit into the market, you got to know what these things are: bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, cryptocurrency, all the things, real estate, all those things that I talked about, cash flow, NOI, cap rate, appreciation, depreciation. There's so many different things there, right? And so I'm just giving you stuff that you guys say, okay, now I can go study, now I can go listen. And once you do this, it just allows you to do the next step, and which is creating multiple income streams, right? And I think we kind of already talked about this, but you have your W-2 as your main business, your foundational income. You can potentially start a side hustle, which is, once again, we touched on freelancing, consulting, maybe flipping properties, Airbnb management or Airbnb arbitrage, and then passive income streams, right? Those are dividends, rental income, things that are moving. Well, you already have, you've already invested, you put your time, energy, and effort in, and now the business is churning. Those things become more passive. Then you can, the side hustle becomes more of the active income. So, I think there's really only like a few more that I want to touch on here, but I already talked about learning the language of money, creating multiple streams of income. That one's a given. We've talked about this before, but one thing that people really are going to have a tough time with, but I want you to know how important this is time protection and being ruthless with this. This means like millionaires don't trade their most valuable asset for low value tasks. And what I'm saying by this is things that you're doing on a daily basis that are taking so much time, energy, and effort that it's bills, spending a lot of time like balancing your checkbook, you're basically doing administrative tasks, what can you offload to someone else? Like trying to figure out your taxes, right? Once again, all these things doing it by yourself. And I'm thinking of like the menial little small tasks in your daily life. Can you offset that to a virtual assistant? Maybe that's within the W-2 job. Maybe that's within your personal life. Maybe that's in the new business you created. What are the small, tiny things that are taking up a ton of your day that you're wasting your time doing, and things that are repeating over time? Offload those to a virtual assistant, someone that's potentially overseas. You don't have to pay them a massive amount of dollars. You're not hiring a full-time employee. It's only for when you need them. And that is going to help you in a lot of ways. But then also you have to say no to things that other people are doing. And that's the hard part. And it sucks to say, but it's like going out on the weekends, every single weekend, buying the new car, buying the new Jordans that come out, whatever it is. Think about like what makes sense and what's going to resonate with you. And there's what we've learned over time is millionaires, and not just millionaires, but the ultra wealthy, they are so good at saying no and just protecting their time rigorously, because the more time you spend doing the other things, you're far behind on the other stuff. So it's building the systems out so that way you can spend time doing the things that you want. You can say yes to those things, but before you have the systems built, it's not worth it, because then you're just going to be all over the place and spending your time churning the wheel in the business or in the thing you're doing versus on top of it, managing it like the master puppeteer, right? Managing the puppets. So
there is a correct order. I think that's the biggest part of this. It's like if you're able to create the system and process that allows your money to work for you to become a millionaire and beyond, you do that first while still enjoying your life, and you still take many vacations, and you go on vacations, and you reap the benefits of the fruits of your labor. But you doing it in reverse order is, I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's very, very hard to do. If you just like YOLO it for 5 to 10 years, and then you're like, oh, now I really need to start thinking about like building it, you're losing the compounding interest, and you're losing that time protection that you should have implemented. So you can start it now, but I'm saying today is better than tomorrow. So that's what people need to think of. Today's better than tomorrow to implement this. And you take the next 5 years and you set your boundaries. And then before you know it, you're looking back and you have all this money working for you, and it becomes easier. Your life gets easier. Do hard things, live an easy life. Do easy things, live a hard life. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, you nailed it, dude. It's the quick start. And once you get information, go take action, build out the system, take the time. It's going to take a while. Build the system, and you're going to tweak the system over time. But when you have the foundational piece, it really allows you just to manage that foundational piece in the system and make tweaks over time. So last two here that I want to touch on, I think are really cool. Upgrading your environment. And what I mean by that is the environment that you spend every single day dictates silently. It'll dictate your habits and your identity. Like home office, Cory and I both, we have had a bunch of different home offices over time, meaning like a room in our house that we've done for our W-2 and our businesses. We have gotten so much further ahead when we've amplified this to, hey, we built out a podcast studio. So this was super easy. We have to walk in the other room. So we each can just hop on the mic and have a podcast and interview and talk to amazing people. But then also, what's motivating us? We have vision boards. Like, hey, what do I have sitting behind me here? I have pictures of my family. I have the house I want. I have the area I want to live in. I have the car I want to drive. Things that I'm looking at all the time. So I'm like chasing the thing. I'm dangling the carrot, right? So it's in front of me, and I always have that. We also have our goals listed. Hey, what are our 2025 goals? And we cross them out when they're done, right? It's a big whiteboard. And so it's like for each of our businesses and each of the things, our investment goals, you have a dollar amount that you want to hit. You have how many properties you want to buy, or what do you want to invest in that year? And then what do we want to implement in our business, right? Like this business is working this way. Can we scale it and multiply it? What do we have to weave into it to do that? And then from there, who do we have to meet? I don't know the person's name, but what type of person do we have to meet to fill that role and fill that void? Can they do it faster and better than us? Is it worth the money to spend on that person to do that based on the budget that we have, right? So what I want you guys to do is think about where, if you work from home, organize this workspace for deep work. Like, how can you focus, lock in, and be like inspired walking into your place? Surround yourself with books, visuals, and tools that align with your goals. I'll be honest with you. I live and breathe in this office. It's kind of strange, but I have the bookshelf behind me. I have a set of, these are amazing, by the way. These ones aren't Bowflex, but I have a set of weights here, and they go all the way up to 80 pounds dumbbells, and you can just spin them. Instead of having the rack that has all the different weights, I just have the ones that you can spin and you lift them out, and it's super consolidated. I can fit in my office. I just think about all the different things I have around me, and the more time I spend in here, I want to be motivated and like excited to be here. And can I get things done efficiently? But at the same time be motivated. I have motivational quotes in here and just plants and certain lighting and all these things, right? It makes you feel alive and excited to get to work. And then we have obviously the podcast setup. We have the mics, we have the lights, the camera, and it's investing in these things. And so just think about that for whatever you're doing. Like, surround yourself with a motivational space, and it will change. It will really change the way you do things. So I'll end with this is like, overall, this is playing the long game. And I think people are afraid to hear that, and they're like, damn, like I hear that all the time, but I want to become rich fast. Like, you're not going to become a millionaire fast unless you win the lottery. And then what's the point of spending all your dollars on these scratch tickets? I'm just like, that's dumb. Obviously you're going to not do that, but here's the play is like, wrap in your mind that this thing is going to take years. For us, someone told us the first day we started the podcast, hey guys, just so you know, it takes a good 10 years for a podcast to become super successful. And we're like, 10 years? But we're like, all right, well, we better get started. And, I don't know if that day we said we were going to commit to 10 years, right? But we're on year 5 now. And we're like, it has opened so many doors than we could have ever imagined, and just makes us feel like we're in the game a little bit more. And I just wanted to give you that, like, compound interest is the best way to, shorten your time horizon, and it'll allow you to shrink the time. When I say time horizon, the time horizon to retirement or to freedom, whatever that means to you. So by getting into the game early, if you're young and you're in your, maybe like your mid to late 20s, start now. Just start right now. If you're in your 30s, you didn't miss the wave. Start now. We gave you the whole spiel above about how important it is to invest early and often. I want you to take this episode and realize, like, light a fire under your butt and start this thing right now. There's so many resources out there. Go on bankrate.com, look at the compound interest calculator and what it would take and what your growth will look like by putting X amount of dollars of your paycheck in there every month, right? And so I think there's another thing too, is like, when you're going through this journey, if you have a good amount saved up in that brokerage account or in that Roth IRA or whatever you have set up, don't pull it out. Let it keep working unless you need the money, like you really need it. And it's for an opportunity that will allow you to invest even more. Or maybe, I don't want to say this, like something bad, like a health thing happens or something, you need a ton of change. Go on the emergency fund first. That's why you save that. Don't stop the compounding of these investment properties. And when I say investment properties, not specifically just real estate, the vehicles that you've invested in, right? It's the stocks, and all the things that we touched on, and potentially crypto. So my point here is, have a wealth vision that this is going to be a 10+ year game, and commit yourself to it and start now, and you'll make tweaks along the way and you'll find things. But I don't want you guys to fall into shiny object syndrome and completely shut off an investment vehicle because something new sounds sexy and amazing. Weave that into your pie as well. And then when you find something that you're really amazing at, like maybe it is real estate, then you can focus all your time, energy, and effort into that. And you have your stock portfolio or cryptocurrency portfolio set up on the side, auto investing anyway. So those things are just working in the background for you. So overall, the first million is built on discipline and assets. It's not a lottery ticket to success. I just want you to know that. Ingrain that in your brain. Your paycheck is not the finish line. That is the starting gun for your investments. That paycheck that you have, most people think about, cool, that's my paycheck. I'm living off that money. This is how I fuel my lifestyle. It is not. That is to fuel your investments, which will eventually fuel the big life for you. Okay. You spend what's left after investing. Don't invest what's left after spending. And if you want to be the first millionaire in your family, you have to start acting like the chief financial officer of your life. People don't do this, and they try to rely on other people to do this. If you go to an advisor, they're going to make percentages off the dollars you put in. If you want to look for a fiduciary, you can have someone working for you, but you need to take some control of your systems, what you're investing in, know what you're investing in, know what you're spending your hard-earned dollars and what they're going towards, right? So self-education is key, and it will change your life. So follow this episode and really write down some of the tack that we put in here, because this will allow you to break through to that first million faster than you think. Surround yourself with the right people, self-educate, upgrade your environment, and you'll be off to the races.